Long time no see, guys. So, I've been away from YouTube for a while, and if you haven't been following me on Twitter or Instagram, it seems I've disappeared from the earth. I have hopefully a good reason for being so inactive on here, and that's because in August of 2018, I suffered from a stroke. If you don't know what a stroke is, it's when blood flow is stopped from getting to the brain. In my case, it was a blood clot, when no oxygen can get to your brain and then the brain cells die. A stroke affects your memory and your muscle movements, and if you heard of a stroke, it's probably because one of your grandparents had one, because the majority of people who have a stroke are age 45 and up, and I am a 17-year-old girl. So, when stroke symptoms first started in me, it wasn't the doctor's first idea in their head, because I wasn't a 65-year-old woman. I was in high school, about to start my senior year. Now, I'm going to tell you all I know and remember from my whole incident, because not only does no one on the internet know, but I'm sick of telling the story over and over to everyone I know. So, here it is, once and for all. Hopefully. This is my 4th time recording now. First 2 times I cried, so. August 8th is when all this starts, and I remember that because it was my sister's birthday. My family was celebrating and she was opening gifts and blowing out her candles while I was laying in the bathtub sicker than a dog. My head was pounding more than any migraine could. And it was so bad I could barely stand up. My mom helped me out of the tub and brought me to bed. I couldn't even keep a sip of water down because I would vomit, and that pressure from vomiting hurts my head even worse. It's like the strongest human in the world is crushing my head in his hand. When I tried to fall asleep that night, I remember groaning so loud that hopefully maybe the pain would release from my head, and my brother told me to shut up. The next morning, my mom was like, something ain't right, Chief, and brought me to the nearest clinic. When I got there, they told my mom,
it just looks like she's dehydrated from throwing up, so let's hook her to an IV, sis.
So they hooked me up and also gave me 2 shots in my hip that was for throwing up and having the migraine. They were like,
also, here are these iron supplements, you're anemic.
What? So when we get home, I go to bed, and when I wake up, I've been sleeping for a whole 24 hours, apparently? I do not remember a thing from that day, but my mom says that her and my dad went shopping and kept trying to call the house all day. She's not picking up. Kelsey, pick up the phone! Kelsey, pick up! So when she gets home, she drags me up the stairs and is like, get up and do something. You've been asleep all day. So she body slams me on the couch. No, she just lays me there. And I start watching TV with my dad and my sister's fish that she got for her birthday. On TV, there was like this crime show where this dude threw his wife down the stairs for insurance money and was like, oh, teehee, she fell. Oopsies. Anyway, that's important. I'll tell you in a second why. My mom helps me get in the bath again, and I am so out of it. I start thinking that she, my mother, pushed someone down the stairs and that the evidence was in the fish tank. And I genuinely believed that. I was so upset at her. You're a murderer!
Just wash out your hair.
My dad told me that same day he asked me for his name, and I replied a whole minute later, Clinker, which is just his nickname. Anyway, it was pretty funny at the time, but my mom was like, okay, something's wrong with you. So she takes me to the clinic again, and my face is obviously sagging on one side. You know, a side effect of a stroke. They even pointed out, but when they look at the CT scan they told me to do, they didn't see anything wrong with me. And at this point, my mom was like,
screw this clinic, I'm taking you to a doctor.
I already had an appointment the next day, so we just had to wait. I don't remember anything from that day either, but I do remember when we got to my doctor. So usually when we get there, we talk about birth control stuff, but what went down this time was more like, hi Kelsey, how are you?
Kelsey is all sorts of messed up.
What do you mean?
Look!
Oh shoot. She started to compare the right side of my body to my left side, so making me shake my hands at the same time, and my right hand was so much slower. Might I like to add that I am right-handed, and this was my right side that was affected. I found out later that I couldn't write and especially draw, so that kind of crushed me. The only thing I'm good at. So my doctor says, yo, I got this friend, he's a neurologist, and what's that? A brain doctor. Oh. And I'm gonna hit him up and get him over here. He shows up a few minutes later and he starts doing those hand tests again and touches the side of my face and is like, is this numb? I'm like,
yes, right side is numb.
Asks me some other related stuff and tells my mom that I should have an MRI done at the hospital down the street. We get there and they bring me into the tube of death. An MRI is like the big circle tubes with the beds that slide into it. I'm a little freaked out because I've never done this before, and also they took my glasses. I mean, there isn't much to see when you're in there, but still. So they slide me in there and they're like, you'll be fine, don't worry. I'm just gonna go into another room to turn it on. Also, try not to move. So an MRI sounds as if you're inside an extremely loud printer. If you don't have earplugs in, you'll probably go deaf. I was so scared to move, it was like I was having sleep paralysis with a demon outside the tube. After what felt like forever, I finally was removed from the cave of noise and was like, Mom! Where's my mom?
Oh, she's in the waiting room.
Oh, okay, where are my glasses?
She has them.
Oh, okay, so just give me some vague directions to the waiting room while I try to follow signs that I cannot read.
Okay, so out the door to your left, go north 2 doors, east 45 degrees, and take 2 rights, and down that hall, and you'll see your mom.
I probably won't, but thanks, I'll immediately forget that when I walk out the door. So, blind, scared little Strokey starts going around the hospital and starts getting tears in her eyes. So I end up by what I think was a reception desk, and this lady looks at me like, What are you doing here? I was looking for the waiting room. My mom, I can't see. My mom, I'm like glasses. So she walks me to the waiting room, and when I tell my mom how I got lost like a little kid in Walmart, and she giggled at me like, excuse me for being blind and lost, mother. Anyway, after that we stayed at the hospital because my mom was afraid that they'd find something that needed to be addressed right away, and that hospital was an hour away from where we live. So we waited there for the results until it was dark outside. Finally, the brain doctor calls my mom and starts telling her things. She's writing stuff down on a sticky note. Then she waves at me to get on the phone too. From what I remember, he was telling me that him and his team found something in my brain that could be a virus. And that we'd need to come back tomorrow for a spinal tap where they stick a big fat needle in your back, which I was not too thrilled about. So me and my mom drive home, but before that we get some food because we're starving. So we sit in the car in a parking lot while I'm eating some chicken tendies. My mom is telling my grandma everything on the phone. I made the mistake of eavesdropping and it hit me like, oh no, something is seriously wrong with me. I thought to myself like, what if they can't figure out what this is? What if no one can help me in time? Am I gonna die? I start crying and my mom starts to comfort me, and after that, we finally drive home. So when we get to the house, my siblings are avoiding the heck out of me because they don't know what I got. And they don't know if it's contagious, so my mom said to pack some overnight clothes for tomorrow because they might transfer us to this 5-star hospital where they have a lot more experts and stuff. So I packed my things, go to bed, and fall asleep. In the morning, we got our bags and hopped in the car. On our way up there, however, my mom's phone started ringing, and it was my neurologist. I hate to leave somewhat on a cliffhanger, but this concludes the first part of my story. Little spoiler alert, I don't die. I mean, I'm recording this video. How else would I be doing it unless I'm from the grave, you know? Even though I'm leaving out more details, the story gets pretty long. I wrote an essay about this that was supposed to be 3 pages and ended up being 20. I got 100, by the way. Anyway, before this part ends, I want to give thanks for everyone who helped me and understood why I haven't been active on here much. There's a lot of people I want to thank, so here's to all of you. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Also, all of you who are still subscribed to me after months of not uploading, thanks. If you're not subscribed, you can if you want, and if you do, please click the bell icon so you're notified when I post the second part of the story, or any video for that matter. I'm very inconsistent. It's kind of my brand. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys in part 2.